Welcome back everyone. In today's video, I'm going to explain the 5 reasons why Graham Potter is not going to be sacked before this window ends. Earlier this afternoon, we got a debriefing from the club's owners and the board behind what is happening behind the scenes. A lot of fans have been questioning and wondering why the owners and board aren't coming out to explain the situation and give support either to Graham Potter or support against him. Today we have those answers, and we have those answers in the form of the board debriefing what is currently happening to Matt Law. Matt Law of The Telegraph has released a massive breakdown article today discussing the 5 reasons as behind why the boards are not looking to sack Graham Potter at this point in time. It comes at the perfect time because currently there's more pressure from the fan base to sack Graham Potter compared to that pressure coming from the actual owners. Potter has been criticised by large sections of the fan base for being defeatist, for being mentally weak, for having no charisma, for having no tactics, no ideas, no nothing, no nada. But for me, I think there is no understanding behind what is happening, and I think this article from Matt Law gives some incredible insight behind what is happening behind the scenes. Now with this current discourse, if you want to discuss and have conversations around the understanding of what is happening with our season, that is now seen simply as excuses. And for me, this is absolute nonsense, and I absolutely reject this. If results aren't going well, how logically would you not want to understand the reasons behind why we aren't performing? How does that logically make sense? I'm going to have a few more videos on Graham Potter. I mean, over the past few weeks, I actively use sites like FBref, Understat, etc, to try and look at the data, look at the numbers to understand a bit more insight behind the current state of the season. Expect more videos coming out later on this week, but currently, as I said, there's more pressure from large sections of the fan base to sack Graham Potter compared to the actual board, the actual consortium that invested 4.25 billion, that paid around 20 million as a release clause to sign Graham Potter during the middle of a season. And one more thing, I'm not making this video today to explain why you need to blindly have faith in Graham Potter. I think the reality simply is that no one, that's me, that's you, that's people who are against what's happening right now, even the goddamn owners, no one has full 100% concrete proof that this will work in the long term. But at the same time, there is no full 100% proof and evidence that this cannot work either. We are in a time of limbo, so to have definitive opinions when we're in a limbo state right now, for me, you're missing the point, and you could be setting yourself up for failure depending on where you fall down either sides. So the need to be 100% in for Graham Potter and the need to be 100% out for Graham Potter is very redundant, and it makes no sense. As I said earlier, there's currently more pressure from large sections of this fan base asking for Potter to be sacked compared to the actual consortium. The consortium that spent 4.25 billion to buy us. The consortium that spent around 20 million as a release clause to sign Graham Potter from Brighton. Considering the current composure from the guys at the top in our club how can I not have a bit of faith behind their decisions in the management? For me, it does absolutely nothing to already tell yourselves that this is a failure and that you know better compared to the actual big boys who are running things behind the scenes. In today's video, I'm going to break down the incredible article from Matt Law. I'm going to use this article to share some more insight and thoughts and opinions I have behind the season. And before I continue on, obviously Potter can get criticism. I have done the same thing in my match reviews. I'm not just blindly following him and believing him. And I need to say this, I don't really have any personal emotional affiliation. I'm sorry, I've been a Chelsea fan my whole life. I've seen sackings after sackings. I've seen mad sackings like the disgraceful way Ancelotti was sacked at this football club. For me, I've learned to put emotions and personal affiliation to the sides. It's more about the success of the club. And as I've seen with my own 2 eyes and my personal opinions over these years, our old way of trying to win does not work in the long term. And it's constantly this thing of a few trophies papering over cracks, but these cracks continue to grow and get deeper and stronger and wider. We all want to win. We're Chelsea fans. Don't you dare try and say that people who want to understand the situation don't have the same value for winning like you guys do, But show some understanding and respect the situation that this is not an instant thing. You need to get your minds out of the past, We're in the future, we're doing things differently, and if you can't get your minds out the past, you're never going to understand what is currently trying to get built. I'm not one of these content creators that will just validate opinions and say the popular thing because it's safer and easier. I'm going to say what I want, and I'm going to say what I have to say. People can agree, they can disagree. We're all free people. We make our own minds up, yeah? So all I'm going to say is, before you start commenting as I'm talking, listen to the video first. So right now, I'm talking enough in this intro. Let's break down this article and let's discuss the 5 reasons why Graham Potter is not getting sacked by this board. In Matt Law's article today, he breaks down his article into 5 segments. Those segments are behind the scenes, anger management, bravery, pain game, and Man City as an example. Before I continue on, I'm going to say this. There is going to be a link to this article in the description and I'll put it in the top comment too. Read it yourselves and form your own opinions. Do not even blindly just follow what I'm saying and blindly listen to me. Form your own opinions on the situation. The articles will be below in the comment section and description. Now let's start with things happening behind the scenes. Now I'm going to hold my hands up. You guys know that in my match reviews, I am going to be critical. I don't just blindly just back whatever I'm seeing, and I made that very clear in that review. But I have to hold my hands up because context came out behind the first team lineup we saw from Graham Potter. And this was explained in clear 4K by Matt Law. The reason why Potter rotated the team was based on the advice of the actual Chelsea medical team. That's right, guys, like Reece James wasn't rushed back in. That's why Mudryk, Sterling, Thiago Silva, Kai Havertz, that's why they didn't start, because the medical team used data and told Graham Potter that these guys potentially are susceptible to breaking down. So let's cast our minds back to, I think, the start of this year when Reece James came back after the World Cup and got injured instantly. Why do we want to create that same situation? It doesn't make sense to do so, and Graham Potter is learning from that. Matt Law reports that the board respected Potter for following the advice and not putting himself first, as we've seen time and time again when guys like Lampard rushed guys like Kante back, when Sarri did the same thing, and even a few occasions when Tuchel did the same thing himself. Unsurprisingly, we looked a lot more threatening once these guys came off the bench in the second half, and with that first half lineup, it was a team that never really played together. A brand new defence, a brand new attack, a brand new midfield. It's no surprise that we looked so lost and looked so clueless in that first half. Anyway, to finish the point, Matt Law reports that Egbahli and Todd Boehly have been regularly attending training sessions. They're going to do that because they're a consortium that spent 4.25 billion, and let's not forget this point too, a consortium that can't take out dividends for the next 10 years. They are banking on long-term success. That's why they're pumping so much money into the club at this point in time. So, using that logic, they're going to analyze everything to make sure their investment is in good hands. And reports from training have come back positive, not from Graham Potter, but from other independent club analysts. Matt Law reports that things are actually excellent behind the scenes in the training sessions, and there's a belief that with more repetition, with more understanding, with a lot of guys that have just recently come to the country and signed for this team, there is belief that this can pay off. Now for the next segment on Matt's article, he now discusses anger management. And one of the criticisms that has been a common staple now in like online discourse is the fact that Graham Potter lacks emotion. He lacks charisma. He lacks emotion on the touchline. Like, if you have no energy, how are you going to reinvigorate a squad in a team? I understand that way of thinking. However, I don't necessarily personally agree with it. And I'm glad this article's out there to kind of disprove some of these myths and rumors, because now it just reminds me of this, like one of Eunice's videos where he was talking about attending an open training session and, you know, kind of use the open training session to, in my opinion, reinforce a lot of personal biases. I mean, it's an open training session. You're not going to see anything strong. You're not going to see anything tactical, anything detailed. And his arguments for that open training session was to support the fact that this is why we can't finish, because Graham Potter doesn't distill this principle in the team. I think Matt Law's article today disproves all these myths and these rumours. It has been revealed today that Graham Potter is very intense in training. He maintains very high standards and levels. Unfortunately, during times like this, it's hard to kind of like prove to the fans that there's positive things happening behind the scenes, because unfortunately, the results aren't reflecting the work happening behind the scenes. But anyway, Matt Law reports that the boards prefer Potter's way of squad management compared to our previous manager. An example comparing the two managers was Tuchel's comments after that 4-0 loss to Arsenal in last year's pre-season, where Tuchel was throwing the whole team under the bus, saying that, listen, we are doing absolutely nothing this season. I've done as much as I can with the squad. So I guess this point re-emphasizes the fact that the boards have some faith behind Potter's methods and what he's doing with the squad behind the scenes. Now in the next segment, Matt Law discusses bravery, and I'd have to say that this was my most fascinating part with this article. He reports that the boards recognize Graham Potter's bravery, and I can imagine that some people may be just a bit puzzled and perplexed by, what are you talking about, his bravery? But see it from a different perspective. When we signed Graham Potter, he was at his most premium. Cast our minds back to how we signed Enzo Fernandez in January. We've overpaid a ridiculous amount of money, of course, to sign a guy that we believe will be important for us in the long term at his absolute premium. That is a massive sign of conviction and faith. Using another example, I watched the recent live stream between Matisse and Miz, and I was a bit puzzled by the fact that they were reacting in astonishment to Graham Potter's wages and his contracts. This wasn't very public news that has been available for a very long time. And one of their points was that because of the amount of money that Potter's earning, the boards can't admit to being wrong, and they can't sack him because of the incredible amount of money it would cost to release Potter right now. But, as I mentioned, perspective is key. When we approached Graham Potter, he was at his premium. Why? Because Brighton were doing absolute madness in the league. Brighton were one of the top informed teams in the country. If you want to hire their manager, you have to pay a premium to sign him. You have to give him higher wages to entice him to leave right now because his reputation could be on the line. Let's keep things honest as Chelsea fans. This club has had a reputation for being a graveyard for many good managers, and a lot of times the reason why they've been sacked is because they've been undermined in their jobs. I can use Tuchel as an example, I can use Ancelotti, I can use Mourinho at times during his spells here too, especially at the first spell. There's been so many examples of how managers have been undermined because the structures aren't really complementing their vision to the highest order. It's a massive risk for any manager. Just put aside Graham Potter. Imagine we sign anyone else. Managers find it risky to move to a club during the middle of a season because managers know they need time to instill their ideas, and even more time if they don't have the right personnel or players that they want to manage and they want to coach. Graham Potter was no impulse buy. This was a calculated decision, hence the reason why we confidently paid the money we needed to hire Potter and hire his team. Of course it's a risk. The squad was in absolute shambles. Tuchel before was publicly stating his dissatisfaction with the squad as well too. And no matter how good of a manager you are, in this game it's impossible to quickly turn things around just like that unless you are literally prioritizing results over everything, which would imply you're literally defending and you're playing counter-attack. But that doesn't work forever. Law states in his article that the boards want to give Potter at least another pre-season, of course, to really just, further build his ideas and his tactics. And for me, that makes a lot of sense. In my personal opinion, I would give Graham Potter a pre-season and the first month to max 3 months of the new season. If we aren't seeing improvements, then I think it's quite clear that he would have to go. But in my opinion too, calling for his sacking when there's currently no outstanding candidates, when it's not that easy to not only pay the release clause to sack this guy, but then to sign the right figure to take control of the current project of the club. Come on, man, come on. We're not 10 years old. Let's talk in reality, yeah? Now we move on to the fourth point in this article, and it discusses the pain game. What does it mean by this? Matt Law reveals that this board, this consortium, understood that this was going to be incredibly difficult to rebuild the entire structure of the club. Not just the first team, the entire structure of the club, from scouting to staff additions to medical. You can't just instantly do this overnight and expect instant success. And I want to make this personal point here. Why do you think that this consortium, these owners, are doing everything as fast as humanly possible to bring as much change and restructure as they can? As I said at the start of this video, there's a reason why they can't take out dividends for the next 10 years. Roman Abramovich wanted to make sure that this club was safeguarded, and he wanted to make sure that when he's giving his baby, his club to new owners, they have the club's best possible interest in their hearts. He's not giving the club to owners that see us as a quick flip to make more money and then to move on. Since September, we've had a new manager, new transfer team, new medical team, new staff, and most importantly in January, new players, actual players that this manager wants to have and wants to work with. Matt Law states that this board feels like Potter can't be solely blamed for inheriting a lot of issues that came before him. Wholesale change like this comes with tons of ups and comes with even more downs. Most of these new signings haven't even been in this country for up to 1 month. Porter is currently working with a very bloated squad as we struggle to offload players in January too, and it makes the situation more delicate because if you lose the squads, that's going to undermine anything you do, and you're basically about to get sacked and you'll be out that door. These circumstances are not normal circumstances that most managers have to deal with, so people need to stop conflating things to be very simple, as if you're bringing in Chukwuemeka in the team and a few little changes in the team is going to bring an instant upturn in form. It's a lot deeper than that. We're a Premier League team, we're not a conference team. And before I end things, why do you think that we've had this current transfer plan of looking to exploit FFP? Why? Because these guys have long-term investment in their heads. They understand that there's a possibility we aren't going to get Champions League football. It's not the first time this has been communicated throughout this season. So, if your idea is to build a brand new team, you want to take advantage of these 2 windows in particular, knowing that you can really excel the restructure of the squad by exploiting FFP. And just to end my point, there's a reason why in the contracts that all these guys sign, Enzo, Mudryk, etc., they will earn less money if we don't secure Champions League football. They accept those demands and they agree to them because these players are also here for the long-term plan and the long-term investment. So what I'm reinforcing is that everything is calculated. This is why we are doing things how we're currently doing things. So right now we end things with the final segment, and we discussed Man City being used as an example. Man City was used as an example for a specific reason, as the current board's actually looking towards them and gaining inspiration behind them. Now, before some of you guys immediately react by saying these guys are clueless and they're looking to copy, when these Man City owners first took over Man City, they looked at what we did and they made sure they did the complete opposite because they saw the lack of sustainability. And you have to say in the long term, I think it's worked out pretty well for Man City. They're the most dominant team in this country, the hardest team to beat, and the strongest team by far. As I've been saying for so long, they've raised the level of the Premier League so high now that if you want to win this league, you must be getting 90 points minimum. To close that gap, you need to completely restructure what success means to you and how you plan for that. You need to sign an even stronger caliber of player to match theirs and hopefully overcome that. You're not going to see these changes instantly in the span of a few games. These players haven't even played at least 10 games minimum together to even get like basic forms of understanding and chemistry in their game. Anyway, Man City wholeheartedly believe in Pep Guardiola. They brought on board Tichy Bergstan, and I know I'm getting this guy's name absolutely wrong. Apologies to all the Spanish viewers out there right now. And they basically created a structure at Man City, a structure that unifies and complements all the experts that the Man City board hired to get Man City to the current place we're actually watching them in right now. Let's not forget that Mr. Abramovich went to Pep Guardiola to try and sign him as our manager all the way back in the day. And Pep turned us down because, again, our reputation is managers won't get time. And if Pep Guardiola himself, one of the greatest managers in this game, says he needs time to build ideas and to improve Man City, you'd be stupid not to listen to him, and you'd be even stupider not to support him. But back when Man City went trophyless all those seasons back, Man City fans were Pep out. I remember that in 4K. We've seen the same thing with Klopp. We've seen the same thing with Arteta. The common denominator is a criminal lack of patience and an even bigger criminal lack of faith in the actual experts running the club. Law says exactly why Winston Lee was hired from Brighton to help complement what Graham Potter does. This is a normal thing at this level, and it's the reason why I've constantly reiterated the fact, why did we sign guys like Vival and Winston Lee in the first place? We did that for a reason and for the plan. For me, currently, I'd say City and Bayern Munich are like the prime examples of how clubs can be successful in the long term when the boards are united when it comes to football philosophy. And if you want that same success, you have to be patient and you have to wait. Matt Law ends things by saying that Boehly and Egbahli don't think that sustainable success will be created in the space of a few months, and definitely can't be created by hiring and sacking managers every few months. Now I'm going to end things by giving my personal conclusion, and I'm going to keep things brief and short and straight to the point. Our old way of winning isn't sustainable and isn't going to generate success in the future? Why do you think that we're the only club that can win a league, that can win a Champions League, and in the following season do absolutely nothing? Do you want us to be a club that is internally in this purgatory, that takes one step forward and then takes 2 steps back? We're lucky that we have new owners like this who are bringing in some hope and some planning to this club, because let's keep things real. There's no way in hell we'd be seeing guys like Enzo Fernandez, João Felix and many others in this squad right now if it wasn't for these guys. And I want to end things by saying this. You have to understand this and you need to believe me, yeah? I've got no emotional ties to Graham Potter, bruv. I've been a fan for so long. I've seen so many sackings. I just see these guys as people to do their jobs. This video is not in the defense of Graham Potter. This video is in the defense of long-term planning and building for the future. Because all the constant things I see with people being so focused on Graham Potter and results right now is that what you're basically asking for is going back to the old way of doing things. And I'm just thinking to myself, how does that make any sense? How have you not clocked what's been happening over the years? Graham Potter is a reflection of the long-term strategy Boehly and Egbahli are building at this club. That's why if Graham Potter with a bit more time shows that he can't do it, then we have to get someone else. And I'm not going to be crying about that. But if you're calling for sackings right now and there's no flipping options and candidates on the market, my guy, stop being emotional. Wake up, smell reality, yeah? Stop seeing the entire situation through here, because that's what too many people are doing, yeah? It's not about whether you support Graham Potter. It's about whether you buy into building long-term success. So that's something that you guys need to think about now. Myself, I'm not stupid and I'm not arrogant enough to think that this small sample size of football I'm seeing is enough information to give me definitive opinions. I don't know if Potter's going to be a success, but I'm going to have some faith behind my boards. They're the guys that give me hope for the future. They've shown it with the business they've done in the window, with their planning, with the restructure at this club. How can I not have faith in Boehly and Egbahli? So right now I'm going to end things and wrap things up. I'll see you guys later. And if some people don't like what I have to say, then I guess it's a goodbye, yeah? But one thing I am not, and I've stopped doing because I've moved on from this as I've grown up being a Chelsea fan, I'm not going to praise when we're winning and cry when we're losing. Because I think right now, the season's not about that. It's about putting us on back to the level we need to be. And people need to start having conversations behind what success means to them now. Because I feel like it's all over the gaff right now. So you guys, I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Lions TV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.